Hi, and welcome to Social Anxiety Solutions, your journey to social confidence. On this podcast, I interview leading experts each week to get solutions from both Western traditional psychology as well as Eastern energy psychology. Now, this week we're going to do things a little bit differently because I was asked, hey, Sebastian, can you please share your story in detail on the podcast, how you overcame your social anxiety? Now, I've already done that before on a video, but that was part of it, and I've shared it in other places, and that was also part of it. So I'm going to try to elaborate a bit here, and for the people that have already heard it, I'll put some hopefully helpful lessons in there. So here we go. So I started to feel socially anxious around the age of 11. Prior to that, I had quite a troubled childhood where my dad died when I was 5, and my mom was left behind with me and my little sis, who was 1 at the time, and I was 5 at the time. And we already fought even before my dad died. But afterwards, it got even worse, and now I was seen as the problem child, and my mom became emotionally distant. And then when my stepdad came into the picture a year or two later, like, I hated this guy, and he didn't like me at all either. And so there were a lot of problems there, and eventually I was placed outside of the house. I lived with my uncle for a year, and up until this time, I had never felt anxious. I had all sorts of, other challenges and stuff, but I had never felt anxious. And then I think that was because I was doing judo, and I was the strongest kid in class, so typically people wouldn't mess with me. Then around age 11, as I was living with my uncle, I had a teacher that I really liked, Miss Rodila. And I liked her to the point that I would actually go to her house to eat pancakes with her and her kids. And it was not because I could get along with her kids so well, but I could get on with her really well. And so I was kind of the teacher's pet, while at the same time still being kind of a not a hardcore bully, but kind of I was teasing kids and stuff like that. And then one day I was sitting in class, and I was throwing her out pencils or pieces of papers, being obnoxious little kid that I was. And as I was sitting in the back of the class, she caught me, and now I had to go sit next to her desk, so she could observe me. Now then, a little bit later, we're going to watch some documentary or the news or whatever. We're going to watch something, and we had one of these old TVs that would roll in on this kind of platform thing so that it's high up in the class. And she rolled that in, and then she went to the back of the class so she could observe everyone. And I was sitting there right in front of the screen, and she yelled from the back of the class, "Sebastian, move your big Dumbo ears away from the television. Nobody can see anything." It was a joke, but it didn't come over for me as a joke. Like, it was a shock. I didn't see that coming from my favorite teacher at all. And I think she was kind of trying to teach me a lesson that I should be nice to people. But anyway, it was a shock, and I became bright red, and I felt massively humiliated and embarrassed, and everyone was now laughing at me because, it's Sebastian with his big mouth who's now being the one, kind of being made fun of. And since that moment afterwards, I became afraid of looking embarrassed or of being made fun of for having big ears, and that really started the anxiety cycle. That traumatic experience, that initial experience for me, that's what really kicked things off. Is from that moment in time, it wasn't safe anymore to be completely myself, because now there were things at risk, because people could at any point at my ears or say something about my ears, and I knew that I was going to feel all those feelings I felt during the time that my teacher made fun of me. And that blushing started to come up, and that blushing really became a problem because it started to come up in different situations as well. Now, this all happened around 11 or 12. Then when I went to a different school, like a high school, and you know, I just had anxiety here and there. wasn't too big of a problem. I then went when it comes to girls, I was fairly popular with girls and also comfortable with them, no problems there. But then one friend of mine had sex at 12, believe it or not, and he was, let's just say, not fully grown, and the girl had been making fun of him for everyone, with the whole school and all the friends. And I'm like, okay, I don't want that to ever happen. So I'm just going to swear off girls until I'm 15 or 16 and I'm fully grown and I've got all my pubes down there and we're all good. And the cool thing to do at the time, growing up in the Netherlands, was to do drugs. And I was very interested in that. And so I started smoking weed and taking ecstasy and a wide variety of drugs. And then when I was about 15 or 16, girls started to come back into the picture. A friend of mine got a girlfriend, and they were now having sex. And I was like, oh my God, I need to have sex, otherwise I lose my cool status, I'm not going to be the guy anymore. And that became a massive, massive pressure. Now, problem was that I was very needy and very insecure, and I couldn't talk to girls to save my life. Now, that all became very, very awkward and uncomfortable, and I started to feel more and more like a loser. Blushing would come up in more and more situations, and this kind of escalated. I couldn't find a girlfriend, and there was just a lot of insecurity around sex, and friends would be like, oh, Sebastian, do you have a girlfriend yet? And if they would ask that, I would become bright red. And of course, that made things worse, and that made me even more anxious. And anyway, that was a big problem. And I started to feel inferior to pretty much anyone who had any form of sex or girlfriend or close relationships. And then I also started to worry about, okay, how am I seen by others? And I couldn't really relax and be myself without alcohol or getting stoned or anything like that. And I just had a really low self-esteem. I was very defensive, and I could defend myself fairly well, especially when I was drinking. But times were pretty miserable and pretty dark. I was doing a lot of drugs at the time, and that was kind of an escape. So in the weekends, we'd do drugs, and then during the weekdays, I was basically recovering from doing drugs, and then in the weekend, it would go on. It was we would take a lot of drugs, both on Friday and on Saturday, mainly ecstasy and smoking weed and drinking. And I really didn't think it was a problem. It was like, yeah, it's the normal thing to do. And, people that don't take drugs, they don't understand. They don't know how great it is and blah, blah, blah. They don't know what they're missing out on. And I even, when I was 17 or 18, I was thinking, I could probably just take drugs for the rest of my life every weekend, and it wouldn't be a problem. Luckily, I changed my mind about that. But that's a different story. Anyway, so when I was 17 or 18, around 17, I don't know the exact chronological perfect time of this. It kind of becomes a blur, but I think around 17, I fell in love with this girl, and then we fooled around a little bit, and I thought, wow, if I could just make her my girlfriend, then all my problems will be gone, and I'll be popular, and I'll feel good about myself. It's just this one thing. If I can get her to be my girlfriend, all my problems will be gone, and life will be fantastic. So I chased her like a love-lust puppy, really going for it with all I had. And I thought, if she's not biting, I just need to try harder. Maybe she doesn't understand my level of devotion, or rather, how much I'm willing to humiliate myself to actually be her boyfriend. After about a year and a half of desperately chasing her, I slept with her. That is, I slept in her bed, and she slept on the other side of the bed. In my last desperate attempt to have sex with her, she was actually so repelled by me that she slept on the other side of the bed, but she didn't want to send me home because I was such a friendly, nice guy. And then when I went home, the bus ride the next day, being all hungover because I had brought a bottle of Bacardi Lemon around because that was my smart Mac move to try to get her in bed, and I got drunk. I was thinking to myself, wow, I'm such a loser. I'm so pathetic. I'll probably never have a girlfriend ever. I'll probably never even have sex because I still was a virgin as well, I think. And I was actually hoping that I would already be a grandpa so that I could be nice and safe, so that I wouldn't be judged, so I wouldn't wake up with anxiety every day, and that life would finally be peaceful. And around this time, and a couple of years prior to this as well, I just felt really alone and disconnected. And I had really, really intense negative, depressive moods. And, like anxiety-wise, it basically, when I would wake up, I would start worrying about, all the things that I did in the past weekend or past weekends, or how people were perceiving me, and, running into certain people that had made fun of me before, and how I would handle that, and, taking the bus to school or going to work or whatever I was doing at the time. I would just have this constant anxiety and constant worry and panic going on, almost never feeling totally relaxed. And it was just a huge, massive problem. And I didn't even know that it was anxiety. I had no idea what was going on with me. I just knew that, hey, life sucks. This is not good. It's not looking good. It's not looking great. I don't like it. But, I was just living it, becoming embarrassed all the time, feeling humiliated. And, of course, the outside world doesn't even notice that much of it, because I wanted to, still give off the idea that I was fine. I didn't want them to see me suffer, right? I don't want any people's pity. I want them to think I'm fine and confident and everything's okay. And there were definitely moments... plenty of moments where I felt fine, usually when I was drinking, but there were a lot of moments where it definitely wasn't fine, and that started to get worse. And eventually I found, I was working at a police station in, it's like as a customer care representative, and during that work, I got one of these spam emails, or I don't know exactly how I got it, but it was a dating test. Like, how satisfied are you with your dating life? Multiple choice. A, not at all. B, could be better. C, it's fantastic beyond description. Something like that. And I know that I even chose B, even though that was definitely not it. Because I was like, wow, what if someone finds out that I have chosen A, and I have to admit that my dating life sucks, and I haven't had sex, or I'm a virgin, or whatever the case was. I'm not exactly sure. And anyway, that led to a sales letter. And in that sales letter, it was talking about, are you really uncomfortable around attractive women? I'm like, yes. Do you feel awkward in these kind of situations? Yes. Can you not get a date to save your life? Yes. And I'm like, yes. Buy this product. I'm like, okay, I gotta have this product. And the product was called Double Your Dating. And I bought the book and I read it. And I thought, wow, that is brilliant, fantastic. I can now... It kind of taught you that, you can talk to girls, which was a whole new concept to me. You can talk to strange girls, and there were different ways of starting conversations that were in there. I'm like, wow, this is fascinating. And then it was like, there's also my audio product that you can buy, and then that will go deeper into the matter. And I'm like, well, I'm nowhere close to actually walking up to a strange woman and starting a conversation, so I'll get that program. Well, I got that program, and in that program were various psychological concepts being taught. One of them being that any problem you have is basically because of your perception. And your perception is formed by your beliefs. It's determined by your beliefs. So when you have beliefs like, I'm a loser, I'm not good enough, people are out to get me, women don't like me, and the world is a dangerous place, you filter reality, you filter the world through these beliefs. Through these beliefs, you're looking at the world, and you're also filtering the incoming information through these beliefs. And these beliefs you learn somewhere, you can unlearn them, you can change them to more positive and supportive beliefs. So you can change them to beliefs such as, I'm more than good enough, I'm great and unique exactly as I am, people are nice and friendly, the world is a friendly place, women like me, However, it's not as easy as that. However, just understanding that concept that, hey, I have a problem and this is a problem that I can overcome, that really changed everything for me. And I also understood a certain concept either from that program or somewhere else, which was a definite major purpose and constant improvement. So when you make something your definite purpose, like, well, this is what I'm going for in life, regardless of whatever is going to happen. I'm not going to stop until I achieve this goal. When you do that and you continuously improve, it's inevitable that you're going to get to that goal. So I made my goal. Well, I've since changed it a bit, but back at the time was that I want to be able to talk to any girl, anywhere, anytime, and be able to, get her number and have sex with her. My goals were a little less evolved as they are today. This is when I'm like 18 or 19 or 20. I'm not quite sure of the age, but around that time. And anyway, after that, I started to do all sorts of things to change these beliefs and get rid of my anxiety. And he was talking about, he gave us all sorts of things to do to change your beliefs, things to do to face your fears, because the only way to really get there is to face your fears. At least that was what was taught. What I now know, you do indeed need to face your fears, but you don't need to forcefully face your fears. You can use energy psychology techniques to make it far simpler, and it's way more effective. Anyway, more about that in a bit. So I started facing my fears. And since a lot of it was surrounding women, that's where I started. So I can remember taking the bus with my buddy Nick and telling him, hey, I'm going to walk over to girls and I'm going to get 20. I'm going to walk over to 20 girls and ask them, hey, can I ask you a question? Yes. Are you single? Yes or no? And then get the number. All right, I was going to do this. Now, I was beyond shit scared. I was totally scared. But I had my friend there, and I said I was going to do it. That kind of held me accountable. And we took the bus to a place about an hour's drive away from where I lived. Because, I knew that I was going to look like a dumbass, so I didn't want anyone to know about that. And still, I was terrified that somehow, some way, people were going to find out that I was such a weird little creep that I was going to do this and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I did that. When I got off the bus, I immediately ran up to the first girl that I saw. I'm like, immediately I faced my fear, then I can't chicken out anymore. And I did that and actually got the girl's number. It was a very awkward conversation, and I followed up and never heard anything back from it. But it did happen. And then after that, continued to walk around for a couple of hours, trying to look for other women that would be my quote-unquote target. And did not walk up to any women after that. Well, didn't really do much for my confidence. And then I was like, well, maybe I need to fly over one of these gurus to help me talk to women, because maybe I just don't know how to do it. And I flew over one of these gurus who, and I actually paid a lot of money for it, $1,000 guilders. I'm not even sure if it was guilders or euros, but quite a bit of money. He flew over, and we started talking to women. So by the way, even before I had, I sent over the money, it was going to happen in a couple of weeks. Now I already felt like this massive fear in my throat and chest that this was going to come up. I was going to do this. Oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? And then this continuously continued to build up all of the fear. Now, when the guy finally was there, this was in Amsterdam, we went out and he's like, all right, walk over to that person, this dude, and just ask for directions. I'm like, all right. So walk over, ask for directions, no problem. He's like, okay, now walk over to that dude and ask for directions, and then afterwards introduce yourself. I'm like, what? Introduce myself? But I don't know this guy. He doesn't know. He's like, just do it. And I was so awkward about doing that. I'm like, that's weird and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I did it. I walk over, hey, do you know where the central station is? Like, yeah, it's over there. Okay. Like, yeah, my name is Sebastian. And I stick out my hand, right? And the guy's like, okay, dude. And he sticks out his hand. He's like, yeah, nice to meet you. All right, awkward. And now we're off. And I'm back to my my instructor telling me how to be social. And then we went off and on to the next thing, asking women, hey, who lies more, man or women? And then very awkward, very uncomfortable in the beginning. But we started to do that more and more. And he constantly pointed out people that I would walk up to. I would ask that question. They would give their opinion. I would stand there frozen in fear awkwardly. And then they would give their opinion. And I'd be like, okay, thank you, bye. And slowly but surely, at the end of the day, I'd maybe walked up to 20 groups of women or, 2 women sitting, whatever. At the end of the day, I felt pretty comfortable. Not very comfortable, but I felt reasonably comfortable with it. And now I was able to also just talk a little bit about what I saw around me. And actually had some nice, 1 or 2 nice interactions. But then the next day, because this was a 2-day event that I paid for, the next day we were going to step it up a notch and actually ask women for their number, like really flirt with them. And that night I slept in Amsterdam in a hostel, and I couldn't sleep the whole night. I was that scared. And then the next day, this was a couple of days before I was going to take off to Thailand to get out of my comfort zone and experience a different culture and talk to women in a different country. I chicken out. I'm like, I can't do this. Just tell me what I should do when I'm abroad. And he told me, and we had a couple of conversations about that, and gave me this whole structured way of talking to women, and then that was that. So I felt a bit more confident after having done that. But most of that confidence actually left me a couple of days later. It didn't really stick. Now, I did other things to face my fears. Actually, I did a lot of things, but a couple that stand out is I heard on one of these programs by a psychologist or a psychotherapist. He said that if you purposely get yourself rejected, you can kind of become rejection proof, or at least that's how I interpreted it. And he says you can just walk up to a girl or a group of girls and you say, hey, you like me, give me your number. And you're almost guaranteed to get rejected. So when you do that, you start to build up a resilience to that rejection. I'm like, okay, I'll do anything to overcome this fear, so why not? Same thing, set this up, different friend, went to Amsterdam, and he also said if you make it a social experiment, some of your anxiety will lessen. So I had my friend with me who made a little notebook. I'm like, okay, girl 1 or group number 1, what's her reaction? And he's like, I was like, okay, that girl, because I told him you can point them out. He's like, that girl, and this cute Asian girls passing by, and I'm like frozen in fear, and I walk over, and I'm like, hey, and she's half walking. I'm like, you like me? Give me your number. And she's like repelled by me and walks off, and very uncomfortable. But I keep going, and a couple of girls walk up to a group of girls, do my little line, and they thought they were on MTV. Went into a store, and there's a guy and a girl, and I'm saying to the girl, "Hey, you like me? Give me your number." And the girl's like, "I don't like you." And the guy is laughing. He's like, "Dude, that's not how you do it." And I'm blushing like crazy and frozen. I'm like, yeah, okay, bye. And I walk out all awkward. And another one that's kind of funny is there was this fancy store, and there was a cute girl behind the counter who was dealing with two dudes who were buying some jeans, and also this really cute girl who was filling up the shelves with jeans. And my buddy's like, "Okay, that girl, go." I'm like, no, I can't do that, and blah, blah, blah. And I felt massive anxiety. And I had a backpack with me, and I walked back and forth outside of the store trying to determine whether I was going to do it or not. And then eventually, like, okay, I'm going to do it, let's go. And I dropped down my bag, and when I actually made the decision to go for it, a lot of the anxiety went away. It lessened a lot. So I felt 10 out of 10 anxiety, and I was like, I'm going to go for it no matter what. And I think my anxiety dropped to only a 3 or 4, which was a lot more manageable. And I walk in, and I walk past the cash register, and I walk over to the girl who's filling up the shelves, and I'm like, "Hi." She's like, "Hi." I'm like, "You like me? Give me your number." And she's like, "I don't like you. Who the hell do you think you are? Get away from me." Now, of course, I get bright red again, and the girl behind the counter and the dudes heard it as well, so they're all laughing at me. And as I walk out with my tail between my legs, the girl behind the counter is like, "Wah, wah, 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 wah." Anyway, I kept doing that, and at the end of the day, I felt pretty confident. Even the last store was, I think it was a fancy lingerie store, maybe Victoria's Secret or something, and I walked in, and I say to the girl, I'm 21 at the time, or 20, and the girl was maybe 28, and I'm like, "Hey, you like me? Give me your number." She's like, "Well, I'm not going to give you my number, but you sure have balls coming over here and saying that to me, so good luck in your little mission." And I walked out. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the man. Look at me. I'm rejection proof. I can say what I want to women. I'm fantastic. Look at me. I'm such a star." Anyway, I went home to smoke weed that evening to celebrate, because I was smoking weed every day, about a gram, which is a lot if you're not familiar with it. And, a couple of days later, I went back into my old habits, and at the end of the week, all my confidence was gone, and I was just as anxious and nervous and awkward around people as I was before. So it wasn't working. Another thing I did is I heard one of these experts say, "Well, you just need to do the thing that you're afraid of most." It's called flooding. Well, I was most afraid of embarrassing myself. So I bought bright red lipstick, smeared it all over my face and circles around my eyes, looking like a freak, and then went into the city to start conversations with people. Well, the epitome of awkward would be an understatement. It was very, very awkward, and people were like, "What's wrong with your face? What's going on?" And I would just pretend, no, nothing. What's going on? Why? And people were repelled by me, and they were looking at me weird, and they were pointing at me, and I was going into stores to really have as many people as possible see me, to really rake up that embarrassment and anxiety. And after about half an hour, it lessened quite a bit, and after about an hour, I was mostly okay with it. Of course, I didn't like the experience, but I was mostly okay with it. And then same thing. About a week later, most of that confidence had left me. Now, I do think that these experiences that I went through gave me some kind of confidence, or exposure, or whatever. I do think it did something positive for me. At the very least, there are good stories to tell. But it didn't really provide a actual solution to my anxiety problem, and that has clear reasons. Now, eventually, I kept searching for solutions, and I was doing affirmations, visualizations, going through Tony Robbins' personal power programs, reading books, working with an NLP practitioner, listening to hypnosis tapes, changing my thoughts, reframing my thinking. All the self-help that you can possibly get your hands on. I was doing a couple of hours every single day, anchoring myself, whatever I could get my hands on. And I was very, very determined to get rid of this, and I did everything. And I was hardly making any progress. Now, eventually, and this is maybe, I moved to South Africa, which was great because now in South Africa, nobody knew me. And so I could kind of start afresh. Nobody knew what a loser I was, basically. That's how I saw it. And there I did an NLP course, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and that course didn't really help me much, but it kind of solidified my understanding that what I was dealing with was an internal problem. And that same year, I eventually found a technique online. I saw a video of a guy showing everyone on video how to do tapping, EFT, emotional freedom techniques. It's a psychological form of acupuncture, but instead of using needles, you tap at the tips of your fingers in specific acupressure points in the body. And while you do that, when you're focused in on a problem, the emotions connected to that problem dissolve. So you think about something you're afraid of, say talking to a stranger, and as you imagine that, you feel that fear, and as you keep imagining it and you do the tapping, the fear gets disconnected from what you're thinking about. Well, that sounded way too good to be true, and I'm like, this is the internet, this cannot be for real, who are you kidding? But it had a lot of views and a lot of likes, so I'm like, okay, this might be something, I'll just research it. Excuse me. And eventually I found tons and tons of testimonials, practitioners of this technique, workshops that you could do, whole forums dedicated to it. And I started to go on these forums like, hey guys, is this for real? Does this really work? And people are raving about it. I'm like, I got to know what this is. So I ordered the DVDs from the originator of EFT, Gary Craig, and I watched all the DVDs. And there you see people with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, war veterans who've been having normal counseling for 20 years and have still deal with PTSD, resolve their PTSD within 5 or 6 sessions of EFT with the EFT masters. And I saw on tape that these people were actually getting relief. They were actually resolving their traumas. You could see in their faces, you could hear it in their responses that was shifting. This was changing. There's no doubt about it that this was something amazing that was happening. So I started to try it out on myself, and I got really poor results. I couldn't feel my emotions, and I tried for a few months, went online, listened to the advice, read all the troubleshooting, anything I could get my hands on, and it still didn't work for me. I'm like, okay, I got to work with a specialist. By now, I had moved back to the Netherlands, and I contacted a specialist in the Netherlands. I'm like, hey, I've got this blushing problem, can't feel my emotions. Can you help? He's like, well, I'm not sure, but maybe just come to a workshop, and if it can be of help, then I'm sure you'll get a positive experience then. And when I was at that workshop, the technique was introduced to people, and then you work in triads. So you have one practitioner of the technique, one client, and one observer. As the observer, I saw the practitioner work with the client, release some sadness, and she started out with 10 out of 10, which is a rating of sadness or whatever it was, and she released all of her sadness in a couple of minutes. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. And then as the practitioner instructing my client while being observed, she released some fear that was 6 out of 10, and it went down to 2 out of 10. I forget the actual numbers, of course, but I saw them shift, and they got great results. And then when it was time for me to be the client, they couldn't get any results. So they called in the workshop leader, and they couldn't get any results because I couldn't tune into something that I was actually uncomfortable about. So workshop leader started then ask me a bunch of questions, and eventually he had me talk about either how I hadn't had sex in a long time, or I don't think no, I was not a virgin anymore. How I hadn't had sex in a long time, that I didn't have a girlfriend. Now, this was my biggest secret. Like, I wanted everyone to think that Sebastian's got his act together. He's popular with the ladies. He's a confident guy, and blah blah blah. Well, definitely not. And now I was kind of found out. This was my big secret. So now I felt totally embarrassed and humiliated and ashamed in front of all these people, because I was sharing it with these other people. He's like, now start doing the tapping. And as I was starting to do the tapping, all that shame and embarrassment and humiliation that I felt was rapidly dissolving. It was like a plug was pulled, and it all flushed out of my system within maybe 2 to 5 minutes of tapping, more 2 than 5. I had come to a place of peace. All of the shame, embarrassment, and humiliation was gone, and I felt centered and at peace and calm, like an acceptance had gotten into my body. And I was like, whoa, what is this? This is amazing. I feel so relaxed. I felt relaxed to the point where I was sleepy. And he's like, okay, well, try to get it back, because you're talking about all of that. So I'm talking and I'm sharing, like, I haven't had sex in a long time, I don't have a girlfriend, blah, blah. And I could just talk about it normally, and all the feelings were gone. Well, that shift was life transforming, because all that inner work that I had done in those years, those face your fears, that all of the ridiculous stuff that I did, all of the inner work, the face your fears, the affirmations, the visualizations, everything, compared to this shift was nothing, And this shift felt so profound for me that I was like, okay, this is the shit, and I got to learn all about this, and I'm going to use this to overcome my social anxiety. Now, after that workshop, I was still super anxious. I still had a big blushing problem, because I only, like that moment only chipped away at my problem. I had a big, massive problem. And, if my problem was a massive cake, this was like, this had taken a bite out of the cake, if you will. So I then continued to work with a variety of practitioners. Now, I, of course, also didn't have a fortune. I didn't have a lot of money to invest. So all of my money that I would make would constantly be invested in working with practitioners of this technique, learning more about it, and so on. And I kind of want to share about how that went, and rather what the different stages were that I've gone through. So at first, I worked with a wide variety of practitioners, because they didn't really understand social anxiety. We would work on clearing traumas, and I would feel better, but my social anxiety would still be really high up there, because most people didn't understand social anxiety itself. They couldn't really relate to what I was experiencing. Plus, I had a very complex social anxiety disorder. Anyway, as I started to work with people, and I started to do sessions and look at, what happened in my past and the painful experiences that I had with people, bit by bit, I started to become more comfortable with myself. Now, I had a generalized, my anxiety was generalized in that it was around just about anyone, and within maybe 6 months or something. I don't know the exact months, right? But maybe in about 6 months, my generalized anxiety wasn't generalized anymore. So I didn't feel anxious in all situations all the time anymore. Now I was just anxious in certain situations. So around attractive women, or around conversations involving sex or dating, or in group situations where I was the center of attention. And so that was big progress. Then I continued to work, and now I was starting to address these specific situations and look for the underlying causes. And I started to do my own tapping, and I started to work on the shame that would come up and the embarrassment that would come up. And I really started to dedicate myself to doing as much tapping as I could. And I worked with amazing experts, got better and better, found different energy techniques, energy healing techniques. A couple that stand out that were really profound that I still use in my coaching is emotion code. Very weird, very, very bizarre. You can't believe that it actually works, but it does. Psyche, psychological kinesiology. Again, a really fantastic technique. And started to combine all of that stuff while still living my life. And things got better and better and better and better. And eventually I got to a place where I was pretty much anxiety-free. But while I didn't suffer from anxiety anymore, I still had problems connecting with people. So I felt like when I would hang out with people, I would only stay for a short period of time. For the rest of the time, I was mostly in my head thinking about what I was going to do afterwards and what I wanted, I was just not really there. I was just bored by people. They would annoy me. I was judging them. Nobody was good enough for me to hang out with, which was actually a projection of my own insecurities. But that was what was going on. I didn't really enjoy social situations. And that's also because I was no longer drinking. Let me rephrase that. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy it because I was drinking, but I had stopped drinking. And prior to that, when I was drunk, I was enjoying social situations because I was drinking. And now that I actually was sober, my sober self, when hanging out with people, I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't feel totally comfortable. I was still disconnected from myself. Now, throughout all of this, as I'm sharing this, I also worked with my own high-level coach, whom I worked with for, and who I still work with from time to time. Worked with her for 4.5 years, every single week. So she knows me very, very well, and she's been, such an amazing help, like beyond description, life-changing. My best decision ever in my life to start working with her. Was absolutely fantastic. Anyway, so I'm now at the point where I'm anxiety-free, but I still have these problems with connecting. Well, now that simply became the focus to move towards being able to connect. And some things that stand out that have really helped me with that is provocative energy techniques, and that helped me lighten up and and enjoy life more, connect with myself more. And, as I'm sharing about this, it is not like, okay, step A, get rid of my generalized anxiety. Okay, achieved. Step B, get rid of, these specific moments. Like I've kind of chunked it. I've kind of made chunks out of it, but all of it has more been of a general progression. It's not been a sprint from A to B, but like a marathon that continuously, I continuously felt better about myself, better about other people, more relaxed about myself, less anxious, more in the moment, more enjoying other people, feeling more connected to my heart, actually caring about people, being compassionate. All of these things have just been growing and growing and growing and growing. All the positives have been stacking and getting better and better and better. And all the negatives have been decreasing and decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. Now, you might think, wow, man, this is going to take forever before I ever get to a place where I'm relaxed with myself. Well, that may or may not be true. Frankly, I don't know. It really is person dependent. Some people resolve the bulk or all of their social anxiety within 3 coaching sessions. Other people, it's a longer period of time where you constantly chip away at the problem and build your self-esteem and your confidence and so on. However, each therapy session that you do, EFT session that you do, inner work that you do with yourself, you get a little bit better. And what's the alternative? Doing nothing keeps you at the exact same crappy level that you're at. And doing the tapping or doing other kind of energy work or working with a practitioner or a psychologist or someone that gets you really each time improves your life more and more. And how I feel today is something I wouldn't even have been able to imagine how I felt back then, because I didn't have the perspective. Because each time that you make a change, each time that you progress, you are now at a different level from which you then look at your goal. So basically what I'm trying to say, there's such incredible value at doing inner work or working with an expert who can, be the outside person looking in, helping you, guiding you, supporting you. That it's beyond words how much better you feel after every single session. And the good thing is that it continues to get better and better. And you don't need a million sessions like me. I'm just this weird, therapy junkie because I was so messed up. And I'm really passionate about this, and I want to share this with people, share this with you. So anyway, got off topic there a little bit. So from that place, it's kind of where I ended up at. Okay, now I'm effortlessly socially confident, which means I'm just relaxed. I'm relaxed in social situations. I don't feel the need to prove myself. I want someone's approval. Sure, would be nice, but I don't need it. I'm not triggered when someone is mean to me. I can playfully be in the moment. And it's just a normal thing. Like it was when I was anxious, like, wow, if I one day can finally be able to speak my mind, say whatever is on my mind, make jokes, feel comfortable around anyone, that would be so unbelievably incredible. It's almost a miracle. That's how I felt about it at the time, because I was looking at it through the goggles of anxiety, through all these crappy limiting beliefs that I had. Now, when I'm at this place, and I have been there a couple of years, it's just normal. It's no big deal. Plenty of people feel comfortable and relaxed in social situations, and it really is no big deal once you get rid of all of these beliefs. I'm just connecting with people. I like myself. I have a good time, and I'm really grateful that I'm at this place. But I just want you to know that, hey, it's a normal state of being. It's not this magical place that you get to. It's actually a normal way of being. So how are things now? Well, I've got a couple of close friends that I really enjoy spending time with. When it comes to dating, so I've had a couple of relationships. I had 3 relationships in my life, and the last one ended maybe 2 years ago. And since then, I was, okay, so this goes into a different area, which is also kind of related to social anxiety. I had a lot of problems around sex as that came up. So because of this whole idea about, I gotta, pick up girls that I picked up when I was like maybe 19 or 20. I was like, I gotta sleep with girls, and I made it my big goal, like I mentioned earlier, to be able to talk to any girl, anywhere, anytime. And one of the milestones would be that I could go somewhere, talk to a girl, get her number, get her home, and have sex with her. I wasn't very much thinking about how it would be for the other woman and all of that stuff. Anyway, when that actually worked out for me, when I was able to do that, which was maybe like when I was 25 or 26, I finally got this girl in my bed naked, and I was like, wow, if I now have sex, now this pinnacle moment, I have achieved my goal that I've worked for years. And then I couldn't get it up, not to save my life, and that was a problem. That was a very uncomfortable situation, and that since happened, 2 or 3 more times, and that was very, very uncomfortable. That's not something you want to happen, especially not when you're with someone new, right? So it's not very nice. Anyway, so after my last relationship ended, I was kind of like, okay, this was amazing, because it had been amazing for parts of it, But rather than just sleep with a girl, I actually need a connection. And, it doesn't sound cool to my 18-year-old self, the way I'm talking now, but I actually, I want a girl to connect with, have fun with, play with. Just plain sex, that just doesn't do it for me anymore. So I'm like, I need someone to connect with. But then there's the risk of, well, if I actually connect, what if I get into a relationship again and then I'm stuck and blah, blah, blah. So I still had, while I didn't have any social anxiety anymore, and while I was basically comfortable walking up to a girl, part of my brain was still worried about the aftermath. Oh, what if I get into a relationship, and so on and so forth. Anyway, so that's what I focused on in the past year or so. And now a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, I'm like, well, while I actually do want to be with my soulmate and have a really amazing, committed, fantastic relationship, what if she only shows up when I'm 40, right? I'm 31 at the time. I don't want to be celibate until that time. If I can just attract and find a woman that wants what I want at this moment in time. And I kind of did some inner work, got my head around it. I'm like, okay. And then about a month ago or so, I went to this restaurant that I frequent, and there was a really cute girl sitting outside with her friend. I'm like, I'd like to meet her. She looks great, and she looks nice as well. So eventually I walked over, was comfortable doing so, asked them if they spoke English, because they looked Korean. They did, and then said, hey, I think you're really cute. Would you like to go for a cup of coffee? And she said yes. And since then, we've been dating. And as we've been dating, certain things have been coming up for me that I hadn't addressed yet. So, for example, when we kissed for the first time, it was nice for about 3 seconds. But after 3 seconds, I was like, oh no, oh my God, am I in a relationship now? Oh no. Oh, what if I don't like her for the long term? I gotta break up and blah, 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 blah. So I got triggered, right? So that stuff came up, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna bring her home right now, and I'm gonna do my inner work and resolve this stuff that gets triggered for me so that I'm a clear channel so that I can be in the moment next time. And so I did. And, we're dating now. We're having an amazing time. It's really fun. And all of these problems that I hadn't dealt with yet that have come up, now all have been dealt with. And dating-wise, I'm really enjoying myself. She's enjoying it. We're having a good time. Social-wise, I've got some great friends that I hang out with. Life is good. Now, do I still get negative sometimes? Of course. I'm human, and stuff will still come up. Now, I don't have anxiety come up. That's not entirely true. But I don't have anxiety come up on a daily or weekly, or sometimes, anxiety maybe comes up once a month when there's a situation that I haven't been in yet, that I haven't addressed yet. Well, when it comes up, great. It comes up because now I can heal it. This is a moment of growth, of opportunity that I get to go through, and then I go through it. So there's a perspective that I've worked on, which is a realistic perspective. That is that all the stuff that gets triggered is an opportunity for you to actually heal. And when you use EFT, when you use energy psychology, when you use these techniques that are available now, each and every time you heal something, you become more congruent. You become more you, and you expand your comfort zone. Everything kind of becomes possible for you. And if there's something that I can't get through, or something that you can't get through, there are people out there, therapists, EFT experts, that can help you get through that point. So how did I overcome my social anxiety? How did I overcome it? Well, how I just described it to you. A lot of persistence, working with experts, and finding out what works. final encouraging words. All right. I wrote down a bit of notes about what I wanted to talk about. So there you go. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. You're not going to overcome your social anxiety, in one go. It's you might make, and sometimes you have a coaching session or you do some inner work with yourself and you make a tremendous progress and you shave off half of your anxiety or 3/4 of your anxiety. That's totally possible. But if you're anything like me, you want to be totally free of it, it's going to be a marathon. So you keep chipping at it. But the beauty about this is that it is actually not about the anxiety. The anxiety is the presenting problem, but the real problem is that you're dealing with low self-esteem. You're having traumas from your past being triggered. You have perfectionism issues coming up, or at least many of the people that I work with. And you have old hurt coming up, and you're not able to be emotionally stable because a lot of past stuff continuously gets triggered. And that's what you're healing. So as you're actually working on this anxiety problem, all of the other stuff that's damaging your life quality, that prevents you from feeling free, is being worked on at the same time. So your whole life improves, your self-esteem improves, your self-acceptance improves, how you feel about other people, how you interact with others, how connected to people you feel. All of that is improving. So while it's really challenging to deal with the problem that you're dealing with right now, there is such a gift in it when you actually decide to take action and start healing, start transforming, start getting rid of the stuff that's in the way of you being your true self. So, I'm very passionate about EFT, energy psychology, and all these amazing techniques because they've really transformed my life, and they've transformed my clients' life, and the people that it's used by millions of people worldwide. And energy psychology, it's scientifically proven to be effective. There have been 80 peer-reviewed studies done on it, 20 of which are published in peer-reviewed journals like American Psychological Association, and 98% of these 80 studies show that energy psychology is highly effective, and it's just really amazing, and I really suggest that you try it out. Now, all right, what else do I want to say? Energy psychology, and I'm not saying don't use Western traditional psychology. Not at all. It's great. I use it too. The beautiful thing is you can combine it. It combines very well with cognitive behavioral therapy, with acceptance and commitment therapy, and all the other stuff that is out there, because it's so simple to use. And, we need to merge these two worlds, Western traditional psychology and Eastern energy psychology, because then you get the best of both worlds, and then your results are put in steroids, and you get to where you want to be much, much faster if you only use, face your fears, change your thoughts. Our culture is littered with it. Nike, just do it. Face your fears. The only way to overcome your fears is by going through it. And all of these motivational quotes from the past, they're great if that is your only option. But, with energy psychology, you do face your fears, but you face them internally before you face them externally. And by doing that internally first, you get rid of the fears, the worries, the concerns, the negative expectations, and all of that stuff. And you heal yourself before you face your fears and while you face your fears. You do need to get out of the house. You can't sit in your house, do energy psychology, heal yourself forever. You need to keep living your life. But energy psychology will make facing your fears so much easier, so much, makes life a lot easier. It's more gentle to face your fears in that way, and you get far more effective results. When you are ever stuck, get help. Don't wait forever trying to do this on your own. If you're not getting any results, or if you plateau at some point, get some help. expert help is fantastic. I wouldn't be where I am today if I wasn't helped by my coach, or if I hadn't worked with certain practitioners, if I hadn't tried things out. There are people that can look from the outside and can see things within you that you cannot see yourself. Certain things you have subconscious blind spots to. You cannot see certain problems that you have, and frankly, certain things you don't feel safe addressing yourself. But when you have an expert, an EFT expert guiding you, your subconscious is like, okay, you're in a safe place now. Now here comes this thing that you need to deal with. Don't be scared of getting the help of an expert. An expert will help you feel comfortable, and it doesn't have to be so painful at all. That's the beauty about this. You get rid of the pain first. You don't have to relive the trauma. You don't have to go into all this pain. There's a very gentle way of releasing the painful past and getting yourself to live in the now and own who you truly are, so that you can be free and freely express yourself, connect with people, have great relationships, and create a satisfying social life and the life that you really want. So that's all possible, and I hope this was helpful for you. For the person that asked me about sharing this on a podcast, thank you. I appreciate your question. Next week we're interviewing an expert again, and I am the creator of the Social Confidence System, which is an EFT-based, energy psychology-based program where I guide you within 12 steps to go from social anxiety to social confidence. I'll be presenting a webinar about my social confidence system, which is for free, which you can just check out and see if it is for you. And if it speaks to you, if it's right for you, then you can get that there. And that will be you can then find that on my website, and I'll link under. I'm recording a video. I'll link. I'll inform you about the link. Whatever. Part of social confidence is not being perfect. All right. So I hope this was helpful for you, and I look forward to connecting with you next week again. Bye for now. All right, so that's the end of the podcast. Since I'm on video, I'll continue here for a second. I release a video every week on my channel on Thursday. You can subscribe right there. The link to the webinar you can find right here. And I am the host of a popular podcast show for which this recording was. Here, I interview psychologists, psychotherapists, authors, healers, coaches for their best social anxiety solutions from both Western traditional psychology as Eastern energy psychology. The podcast is called Social Anxiety Solutions. You can find it in iTunes, or you can go to socialanxietysolutions.com/podcast and you'll find it right there. All right. Hope you enjoyed this. It's gotten dark here. This is Sebastian van der Schrier from socialanxietysolutions.com. Bye.